Just a couple of words to start with, but thank you all for coming. I hope you're all well and your families are well. We thought it was important to have a wellbeing event, but actually this is something that we've not just done as a result of the current sort of situation, but as a society we've been considering doing it for a long time. One of my main priorities for the year as president was to try and deal with mental health issues, and so I just thought it'd be interesting and helpful to set out a bit about what we've done this year and what we plan to do moving forward. So first of all, we decided to recognise the excellent work of LawCare and make them one of our charities for the year. And we fundraised for them at a number of events, and we will continue to do that. Secondly, from discussions with LawCare representatives, I discovered quite early on that there was quite a small proportion of our profession that actually knew about the work that they do. So we've just tried to highlight as much as we can the good work they do and make people know they're there for us as a profession. We've also appointed Claire Good as our mental health officer. Claire, as many of you will know, was the chair of the Cardiff JLD and championed mental health issues in that role. And she's now a LawCare ambassador. So thanks to her for helping set up this event. It was something that we had on our radar anyway to do, but obviously the current events have meant that we're having to deal with it in a different way. We also last September hosted our managing partners lunch, and the key issue that we decided to raise there was the issue of well-being. Liz Rimmer from LawCare addressed a number of managing partners on a variety of issues, and a number of our sponsors spoke about similar themes as well. We're hoping to hold more events of this nature moving forward. This isn't just the only one, and it's not just because of the situation we find ourselves in. Hopefully the next events we'll be able to host in person and try and do some on an ongoing basis. As Emma said, we've got a number of speakers today. We've got Mary Jackson from LawCare and Elliot from NowPlay. I'll let them introduce themselves as to what they do as part of their talk. But we are very grateful to them both for giving up their time to speak with us. Without their support, events like this just wouldn't be able to take place. Just before I hand over, there is something I'd just like to share with you all on a share screen, if I can. Let's see if it works. It's a document that's been created with the SBA, SRA, LawCare, and the Law Society and the SAS. Is just how to support supporting solicitors. It's been around for some time. It's available on the LawCare website. I just thought it would be helpful to put up at this time. I think it will be something that we should share at the end of this meeting as well. So hopefully you can get some information from there. Obviously, we're going to hear a bit about LawCare in due course, but I thought it'd just be helpful to just give some information about both the SAS and the SBA, because I think they are going to be quite relevant at this time. The SAS, that's the Solicitors Assistance Scheme. I will declare an interest. I am on the panel. But they offer a free, confidential and privileged advice service, 1 hour, on a variety of issues, disciplinary practice issues, employment issues, insolvency issues. Their website, again, I'll ask Emma to share it at the end, is www.thesas.org.uk. And then there's also the SBA, which is the Solicitors Benevolent Association. They offer financial help to solicitors and their families. It's not just to solicitors, both in terms of not just providing financial support in terms of cash, but they can also advise in respect of finances as well. So they might be a useful tool, whether it be for yourselves or for your staff or colleagues. Their website is at www.sba.org.uk. Again, I'll get Emma to share those. Finally, before passing over to the main event, just a big thank you to Emma Waddingham of Legal News for hosting yet another meeting. They've been really, really great throughout the start of this pandemic. They launched, and I think it's been an invaluable tool in keeping us all connected and informed, and really enabling us to carry out events of this nature. So thank you, Emma, for, again, another excellent event, hopefully. That's me done. So I say we'll pass you over to the main event.
Claire, if you'd happily introduce yourself, and that would be fantastic. Tell everyone a little bit quickly about what you do. And Steve, if you don't mind unsharing your screen, that would be great. Thanks.
Hi everyone. So as Steve said, I am the Wellbeing Officer for the JLD and Cardiff District Law Society. I'm also a champion for LawCare, which means I try and kind of promote and make sure people know what LawCare is and what it does, because I think in the last few years, certainly more people are aware of it, but I know before that it was something people didn't really know about. And I'm also a solicitor at Capital Law. Just one thing, if you hear a weird noise, it's my dog snoring, it's not me. She's very loud. So just to repeat what Steve said, thank you, Emma, for hosting this. We've been discussing in our JLD WhatsApp group for a while that, I say for a while, it feels like this has been going on for a long time, that we should do an event for our members, because whilst we chat about the kind of stresses we're going through, not everyone has that support network, and especially at a junior level, not everyone has someone they can speak to. And events like this can be so vital because our job is pretty stressful at the best of times. A pandemic really doesn't help that. And we're all battling different things at the moment, whether it's feeling isolated, an increase in your workload, being furloughed, missing your friends and family. And it's just really important that we stay connected. So events like this really help us keep the connections we've got, but also build new connections and know that everyone's going through similar things and there are people there to talk to. So I haven't prepared a presentation or anything specific, as I know Mary and Elliot have done that. But I just wanted to kind of say one thing I've found quite hard is we get a lot of pressure on social media anyway, seeing what other people are doing, what they look like. And the thing I've really found is everyone's talking about this magic new time that we've got, that apparently has appeared out of nowhere. And you see people baking, learning Greek, learning the guitar, doing all these new tasks. And it made me think for the first week or so, what can I do? What have I not done in the last 6 months that I've really wanted to? I was like, maybe I should learn Welsh finally, maybe I should do this. And then I started to feel panicky about that because I was like, I don't really have the time to do this, but I'm failing at the pandemic because everyone else is using the pandemic to do this. And then you just realize that really being productive is personal to you. And being productive for me is if I can just watch a series of Netflix in a day, and I'm happy to do that. And I think we're putting too much pressure on ourselves at a point where we're already really pressurized. And I think it's a case of just everyone needs to just do what works for them to get through this, because it's not great, and we are going to have good days and bad days. And I think we need to stop trying to learn Greek is essentially what I'm trying to say. But I'm sure Mary and Elliot will have slightly more profound things to say, so I'll pass over to them now.
Thanks, Mary. I've unmuted you now, so you can continue. Thank you.
Okay. Well, hello everyone. I will confess straight away, this is my first ever webinar. So like a lot of people, I'm coming into the virtual world. And it's quite interesting and different, and there's a lot of learning for me. But I too want to begin by thanking Cardiff and District Law Society, thanking Emma so much for giving us this opportunity. And also it's just great to have Claire here because she is one of our champions. I feel I've got to know her very well because she was largely instrumental with her committee last May for Mental Health Awareness Week in putting together such a wonderful series of seminars and what have you that was really well attended by the JLD. So I'm going to give about 10 minutes presentation, few anecdotes, a bit about the helpline, the kinds of calls that we're receiving, and hopefully some tips. But I'm going to go off at a very slight tangent here at the very beginning. I'm fascinated by the human body. I'm not fascinated by pandemics and immunology, but there is one thing that I've learnt that I want to pass on that I think is very positive, and it's free. I have a father who's quite ill at the moment, and I was trying to work out how I can help him with his immune system, because this awful virus, it attacks, as we know, our lungs. And one of the things that's free, you don't have to buy a tub of vitamins, is sunlight. And I was reading in a lovely book called something like Let the Light In. to get out in the sunlight if you can, because your body from late March onwards here in Britain starts getting its vitamin D from the sunshine. I know if you haven't got a garden, that might be an issue, but open your window, let the sunlight in. And my goodness, at the moment with things like pink moons and sunlight, at least we've got that to look up and out at. So that's just a little tip, free vitamin D that really helps with your immune system. So you will all be familiar, I'm sure, with the 5 ways to mental health and well-being. We talk a lot here at LawCare about them. Just a reminder, giving, taking notice, keeping on learning, which we're all doing right here, right now, being active. Now that the government has told us all we have to take daily exercise, I find it quite funny in one way, because lots of my friends don't even take their daily exercise and now they're feeling obliged to. But the one I want to talk about is this whole idea of connection, because now that we have this new world of self-isolation, social distancing, and the rest, and words like lockdown, I always associated that with terrorism and prisons, and now we have all this new vocabulary. I think it's more important than ever to connect in absolutely every way possible. So connection through the virtual world, this is great. Zoom, we're connecting with people in another country over there in Wales, and I'm here in North Devon. Also things like FaceTime, but even something like lifting the telephone. I've had actual phone calls this week rather than texts or emails, and it's made such a difference to how I'm feeling myself. So, you know, if you can lift the phone or even write a letter, which I'm doing to my father because he's nearly 90 and he's just not into social media. That whole thing about staying connected, I'm going to give you some examples from the helpline calls or web chats that we've had in the past couple of weeks. And I'm starting by saying that 1 in 2 helpline calls have COVID-19, sometimes a little bit hidden in there, sometimes very prominent. And I'll just give you a few examples of those calls so that you begin to see what's coming our way. I will use make up names and even change genders so these callers could never be identified. The one that struck me most was from someone, I'll call her Sophie, who actually came to LawCare by web chat. And I was on duty that day. And she started by saying she was a very young solicitor. She was at home working, not furloughed. Some of her friends had been furloughed who were trainees, and she was finding, a bit like Claire was saying, she was finding that very difficult. But what she was doing, which might be interesting for some of you listening in to know, was she was almost overworking because she felt that now she was at home, she didn't have the commute, which usually took up 2 hours of her day. She didn't have the distractions of, you know, the water fountain, coffee, going out for lunch or whatever. So she was working much harder and longer hours than when she was actually in the office. And I think that's a real issue. And also she was afraid to ask her boss for help. She just said she didn't want to bother her boss. She didn't want to make that phone call. And we were trying to work out in the web chat what she was afraid of. And it's that whole thing, lawyers beat themselves up so much about not being good enough and now expecting even more of themselves in the current climate. So that was a web chat that came in. Then I'll talk about Alan. Alan is a man in his high 50s, and his issue was he has been furloughed and no other fee earners in his team have been furloughed. And prior to the 1st of April, which was the date the letter came in, he had sustained quite a difficult time with being bullied by someone in his team. And he's in this position where he just doesn't know quite what his future holds for him in the firm, whether he'll have a job and whatever. And I'm just going to say there what one of the things that we did to help him. we are arranging for him to access a peer supporter. Behind the scenes at LawCare, we have over 100 peer supporters who are fellow lawyers who've been through some kind of crisis in their lives. It might be something like multiple bereavements, redundancy, a problem with the SRA. And so we buddy up our caller with one of those wonderful peer supporters, and they arrange by text usually to chat to each other. It's a wonderful, wonderful system of giving support. And then the final example of a caller, and these all are in the last 2 weeks. Let's call her Kerry. A single woman, well, a divorcee actually, in her high 50s, who had been working as a locum but was laid off. Her status is self-employed, and she's actually running out of money. Quite a serious story. And she'd never heard of the SBA. And I'm so pleased, Steve, that you brought up that table at the very beginning, because we were able to direct her to the SBA to offer her ongoing emotional support. And I'm sure that she will qualify, because I know the threshold is very high, but she is now in receipt of job seekers allowance. And again, this is all really because of COVID-19, and she wonders, will she have a job to go back to? She was telling us a horror story that conveyancers are now writing wills. I don't know if that's rumor or what. But there were 3 callers just in the past couple of weeks, and that will give you a flavor of what we actually take on and what we're hearing. So just a little bit about what we do offer at LawCare. The team are all lawyers. None of us are practicing anymore, obviously. We have a wealth of experience between us. So your phone call, web chat, or confidential email will be answered by a lawyer. And I guess at the very heart of what we do is the emphasis on confidentiality. There is a policy relating to that on our website, but I've been at LawCare 12 years, and I've only had to breach confidentiality twice, both in cases where I genuinely believed the callers were going to harm themselves. I'm glad to tell you that there were happy outcomes in both those cases. But confidentiality is key to what we do. And we try and listen, support, empathize, and not judge, because we feel that lawyers, by the time they come to LawCare, they've already judged themselves, they've beaten themselves up metaphorically, and we're there to listen. And I would like to say at the end of the day, offer hope. It's free, of course, from a mobile or a landline. Our hours are 9 to 5:30, 5 days a week. Web chat, there's a button on the site. You can go in and see when to contact us that way. And you can also send an email through a confidential server. So that's a bit about what we do. We also do refer to the Solicitors Assistance Scheme, which is there to give up to 1 hour's independent free legal advice. And I know that Steve is, of course, on that panel. And we've been referring a couple of our COVID callers there for legal advice, mostly in respect of employment queries, I have to say. So we're there to provide you whatever support we can at this awful, awful time. We have a page now, a COVID-19 page. I've given Emma the link to pass on after this. So whatever we can do to help, we will. And we're looking for blogs of how you're finding life in these new circumstances. I know that Gethin Bennett, whom Claire will certainly know, has already provided one, which is great, to do with well-being and mental health. And I'm just going to finish off by saying that I came across a lovely little tip on an Irish meditation site that I go in occasionally to. And it was saying, think of the words SOS. Not save our souls, but sus in the Irish language, in Gaelic, which I learned at school. Sus means rest or pause. And the lady was saying, in the middle of your day, just take out 2 minutes. S for stop, just stop and think, what am I doing? How am I feeling? Then O, the idea of open, and that whole thing about just 3 really deep breaths. And then support. Think about what support have I got around me? Who have I got in terms of human beings? What can I do online? I know I've got LawCare. You've also got Cardiff District Law Society. You've got the JLD. There is so much support. You just have to ask, and not to be afraid to ask. And a final thought, a friend of mine, when I was saying, oh my God, what are we going to do? This is terrible. This is awful. She said, Mary, we were made for these times. And I said, what on earth do you mean? And she said, look, we now are developed. We have scientists. We have great people who can look into this, get a vaccine. The world is shrinking, and we have to come together and find the vaccine, do more testing. And we are so far developed that hopefully that won't be too far away. So I wish you all well. Remember, we're there for you. And thank you again, Emma and Steve, for the opportunity.
Not a problem at all. Thank you so much, Mary. I really, really appreciate that. And obviously, if anyone has any questions, we'll address those at the end. I'm now going to hand over to Elliot from NowPlay. I've just uploaded a brilliant feature to the website, which again, there'll be a compilation of all the support and links that will be sent to you. So I'll hand over to Elliot, and he can offer some fantastic advice on getting away from the desk and finding and restoring a little bit more balance.
Yeah, I've been unmuted, super. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to you all. My name is Elliot, and I'm here today with NowPlay, which is a new company that focuses on talks, workshops. We have a blog that we run and a social media, and we offer a consultation on mainly creativity, productivity, but one thing for today, well-being. So on our website, nowplay.uk, there's links to our social media and links to some of our writing as well. So today I would like to talk to you all about balance. So firstly, thank you to all of you for carving out a little bit of time for yourself and for some self-care today. I know it can be tricky, especially in strange times like this. I'd like you to think today about what it can mean to bring a little bit more balance into your lives. Because it's fair to say that given the current circumstances, we can all feel a little bit off balance sometimes. And this is a feeling that is unique to each of us in how it feels, but it's something that you're definitely not alone in. Whether you're struggling with workload or working from home, there's a lot of anxious thoughts chattering away, or something completely different, we can end up feeling a little bit adrift from ourselves. Now, I believe this distance from ourselves, this feeling of being a little bit lost or being off balance, if you will, it goes with our greatest difficulties, hand in hand, inseparably. It's part of the human condition. Just as a coin has heads on one side and tails on the other, just as you wouldn't know up unless you knew what down was, on one side of our coin, we have the problem that we're facing, and on the other side of the coin, the imbalance, how we feel in our head, in our bodies, everywhere. So of all these difficulties that we face, if they all come with an imbalance, could a long-term solution, something that helps us build resilience and recognizes when we need to ask for help, rather than just sticking a band-aid over immediate problems, be learning how to restore a sense of balance? So restoring balance is a skill. It's not just a matter of clicking our fingers and having a magic fix. It's more like an ongoing journey, not back to ourselves or back to balance, but forwards into balance, to live in balance. So this all begs one big question. If it's balance I'm missing, then what is balance? So just like feeling unbalanced, our balance is personal. It's something we each have our own version of. And for me, balance is feeling myself. It's like dancing when nobody's watching. It's feeling authentic, but it's not something that you just get to and you're done. It's ongoing, it's dynamic, it's living, it grows. And just as my balance day as a toddler would have had a lot more naps in than my balance day now, it comes with us. So I could be myself, I could be balanced and absorbed when I'm working, but I can also be myself in calm when I'm doing the dishes. It's not what you do, balance is how you do it. It's how you feel when you do it as well. So given the way things are currently, where can we start to use this idea of balance. It's important to note that balance requires a spectrum, a whole with two aspects, like a magnet which is polarized positively and negatively. The balance point here doesn't lie at either end. It's not completely positive and it's not completely negative, but the balance is in the center of the magnet as a whole. So one spectrum that we can demonstrate this with, which Mary brilliantly noticed, was time spent indoors versus time spent outdoors. We spend too much time indoors, we get stuffy and it's not good for us. Too much time outdoors and we might get arrested now. So if you're indoors all day, do you have a garden that you could take your breaks in? Would opening a window help? Do you go for a walk every day? And if you do, could it be longer or more varied? Investigate other areas of your life with this same sense of calibration. Maybe it's stillness versus movement. Maybe it's distraction versus contemplation. Maybe it's work versus rest. For this final one, work versus rest, if you have a lot of work on, then it can feel a bit overbearing. It can feel a bit dull. Maybe motivation is lacking, especially if you're at home. It's been proven scientifically that when we have a higher order of motivation, we're more productive and we have more energy in our work. So let me demonstrate this by considering somebody working in pest control. Is their job just to go in and spray some bugs? That's a low order of motivation, spraying the bugs. Or is their job to go in and restore peace of mind and quality of life for their customer? It's a much higher order of motivation. So notice how this just comes down to what you as an individual make of your task at hand. That might be easier said than done, but if you have work to do and it's going to be done either way, make sure you're not overworking, but if you've got work to do, rather than it just being a pile of paperwork, could completing your work be an act of restoring your work-rest balance? So getting your work done so that you are then ready to rest. So having one eye on that prize or bringing a little bit more harmony to your life. So to summarize, the main thing I want to get across to you today is that the way that we think about the issues that we face plays a key role in how we can resolve them. By considering them in terms of balance, we can be better equipped to be resilient to what life throws at us and to be able to communicate areas where we might need help. We might need to ask for assistance from great services like Mary with LawCare. So balance is something that's within all of us. And we have to strive towards it continuously for a balanced day and a balanced week and a balanced life, balanced years on end. So with a few ideas of where to start, I sincerely hope and wish you all the best of luck on your journey towards balance. And if anything I've said today has resonated with any of you, please check out our website at nowplay.uk, where I've uploaded that blog post that's also available on Legal News, and there's some other writing on there as well. There's a reflective exercise at the end of that too, which I hope some of you find useful. If you have any particular queries, then I'm more than happy to answer any questions. And thanks again to Mary, Claire, Emma and Steve for speaking, for hosting today. And I hope that some of their advice and the support that's on offer helps you forward in your journey towards balance. Thanks.